welcome to Innovation Makes You Sexy podcast, the only podcast that takes a look under the covers of corporate innovation, its do's, its don'ts, and the secrets to its success. The Innovation Makes You Sexy podcast is brought to you by Duco Innovation Ecosystem Design, and I am your host, Liron Glickman from The Human Factor. And on this episode, we are going to look at corporate innovation from the point of view of the intrapreneur, meaning an entrepreneur who works for a large corporation, one of the world's largest corporations actually. So stay with us, we're starting soon. Today, our guest is Ori Bendet, Director of Product Management at Time to Know and former product manager at HP. Hi, Ori. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Liron. Thank you for having me.
So Ori Bendet is an experienced product leader with both enterprise and startup experience, combining strong technical and marketing skills. At Time to Know, Ori is leading a SaaS-based digital learning platform, which helps instructors digitalize their learning process.
Thank you. I've been busy lately, and this is beside being a full-time father for Michael, who's 3 years old.
So, today with all your amazing experience and different hats, we gathered here to talk about your experience and actually your great achievements that you've led at HP around corporate innovations. I would like to start with the basics. What is corporate innovation in your view?
So corporate innovation for me is actually the fact that every employee in any organization, it doesn't matter if it's HP, which is like one of the largest organization worldwide, or if it is Time to Know, which is less than 100 people. Every employee should have the framework, whether it's formalized or just the ability to pitch ideas wherever. So every employee in the company can come up with new ideas, pitch for them, and if they make sense for the company, if they make sense for the strategy of the product, then it can pursue and validate and make sure that this is indeed a good idea, and how the organization and how the corporate can actually productize this idea and hopefully one day sell it to either existing customers or future customers as well.
Yeah, well, I like the definition. Now, if you don't mind also sharing a bit about your story and what you did as an intrapreneur, I would say, at HP. And also when you share your story, I would like to also focus about the moment that you realize that you're actually an entrepreneur, because I guess, things are starting to happen. And then at some point you're like, oh my God, I'm really making a difference.
Yeah, definitely. So my experience with intrapreneur and product management started after 4 years in HP. I started in engineering. I knew that I wanted to be a people manager. And after 4 years, I started thinking, okay, what do I want to do when I grow up? What is my next step? Do I want to manage more people? Do I want to manage other things? And I was drawn to the business side, to the product sides, to make sure that I have the ability to impact and to influence our customers. And then at the time at HP, there was a centralized innovation program where every employee was able to pitch ideas. It was divided into 5 different steps, where the first step was kind of the singing context that exists today. So everybody can submit an idea, and then the rest of the employees would vote. So this is how I started. I had an idea. This idea came from a pain that I had in my daily work as a team leader in engineering. And I thought at the time that this pain might also affect other people, whether it's inside HP or other companies. And with this I came of the idea. The idea was called Dokito, from the word document, where we wanted to make sure that we bridge the gap between technical writers in an organization and engineering and product and business. And why do we want to do that? Because what I was able to find out is actually that this lack of information that passes between these two sides, the technical writers and the product and engineering, actually creates a massive lack of information that at the end affects the customers, because they don't have the relevant information. And then they create support cases, and it becomes a headache for the organization. And of course, support cases, something that costs a lot of money for any organization. Yeah, so I submitted my idea. It reached the top 5 ideas, and then it got accepted. I would then moved into the incubation phase. At the incubation phase, it was kind of the best school for entrepreneurs and product management that I could ever wish for. It was kind of lean startup 101 from MVP, unique value proposition, lean canvas, potential partners, customers, cost structure, everything that you need to know when building a new product from scratch, while being under the vast umbrella of huge organizations such as HP. And the moment that I realized was actually, I flew to a conference in San Diego to talk about potential business connection, kind of a biz dev meeting with the market leaders in technical writing software. So I met both with their CEO and their VP product. And it was actually the fact that I said, whoa, I actually had an idea. I was able to pitch it. I was able to create a POC, a proof of concept out of it. And now I'm actually talking to a VP product of a multi-million dollar company that all started with the idea that I had based on the pain that I was having in my daily work.
Which is very exciting because, again, you mentioned that you had a process that you were going through, the incubation process. So it really doesn't necessarily have to take much to get you into the deep water, start working on something which is amazing and can really make a difference. And I think it's an interesting point, because if a company works fast or relatively fast, then it can really happen and change your whole scope of work in a short time. And I think that brings me to the next question, which was, in what other or additional ways HP supported your idea?
So, of course, once you got accepted, you were officially allowed to work on your idea a day on every week. In addition, I got support from the innovation team at the time, including a mentor from the innovation team, an engineer that was able to help me with the POC, and also a traveling budget. It started mostly with the Nahito concept, the nothing important happens in the office, and get out of the office towards the same. So I actually visited every company in Israel that was willing to sit with me for an hour. So this was the support. So both the resources, the time, the mentoring, the budget for traveling. So everything that I needed, including the time of my day-to-day, which at the time I was team leader, managed about 10 people. In addition to the day job, I also had the time for innovation. So this was, of course, the most important thing that HP at the time gave me.
I'm sure that the first thing that comes to mind to any, corporate employee that listens to that is, I'm so busy with the day-to-day, and there are so many things and so many deadlines and so many projects. How would you still recommend to those people? What can they do to really make the time?
So, a nice concept that we had at HP is that, and again, today I'm working at a startup. It's running faster, but again, it's the concept that almost 95% of the things can wait for tomorrow, and not in a bad way, but in a good way, and not like in like the lazy aspect of it, but in a way that, of course, there is always deadlines, and there were demos, and there were executive meetings and everything, and we had customers, and yes, when we needed, we stayed up till 1 a.m. But in most cases, things can wait for the next day, which perfectly fine. And this is the concept that helped me, and I believe other entrepreneurs in HP make the time. If it's important enough for you, and if it is important enough for your organization, and it should, because innovation is the way that keeps every company continue on their track. It's important enough,
the time.
And you will find the time.
As an entrepreneur, your progress is actually, as you just mentioned, in your hands. So you need to hustle, you need to go to people, you need to harness the right people. How did this journey of building your idea assisted your professional growth in the company and how you were perceived by others, management, or your peers?
So first of all, I believe it was one of the first time that I was leaving my comfort zone, leaving
Wow.
the pure engineering side of the business, because I had to reach out to people that I don't know. I had to pitch my idea, make them find time to talk to me. That, as we just said, everybody's busy. I don't have time to sit for 1 hour with someone that I don't know. Kind of the first time to actually dare as a professional, just leaving your day to day and doing something new, something that I've never done before. And this is how it actually made me stronger as a professional and as the product manager that I am today.
So leave your comfort zone, guys. That's really get you to new places for sure. Let's talk about influence and about corporate politics. I don't know how much you like this topic, but I'm sure you had to flow with it in a way. So tell me, how did you harness people to support you and eventually overcome the politics and other needs and wants that influenced your work? Eventually, you wanted to advance this product onward.
Influence in politics in almost every company, and regardless of size, of course, the larger the organization, the more politics and influence, because there are more people involved. It was kind of an art to manage the internal politics. The funny story that I can tell you is that, as I mentioned, my idea, my innovation was around technical writers. So I was really sure that, I would be accepted and hugged by the technical writers committee or community inside the HP, where after I pitched my idea to the Innovation Council, I actually got the other way around, because they thought that I was actually criticizing their work rather than trying to help them. And this kind of created a negative effect. Before you got funding in HP, you are supposed to pitch your idea just like an investor meeting that happens in any startup or any other company. So you are expected to have 20 minutes of worldwide executives, people that manage. The thing is that you need to capture their idea and their attention in the first minute, simply because they are so busy and so occupied. They are in a room full of executives in their mornings in the Silicon Valley. They come with their breakfast, and the last thing that they want to hear is probably your pitch. The trick that we did is actually we wanted to knock them out of their feet in the first 30 seconds. And what I did is actually compared in a very elegant way, okay? Because we really want them to have, drop their jaws and listen. So I compared technical writing to toxic waste removal. Why? Because this is toxic waste removal is one of the industry that there is a lot of money, but not a lot of people want to become a toxic waste removal when they grow up. And I compared technical writing and helping technical writers in this matter. And again, the idea was to intrigue them, and we wanted them to say, what? Really? I remember that one of the executives, the corporate marketing VP, was actually, she dropped her spoon. She was eating her. The minute I said this comparison, and from that moment on, everybody got hooked to the idea, to the pitch, to the numbers. And so we got, at the end, we got what we wanted. However, it kind of, as I mentioned, gave a negative effect from the technical writer inside HP, simply because they thought I was criticizing them rather than criticizing the organization on how we work with technical writers. And then, the politics and the influence came in place, because we needed to talk one-on-one with each one of them and explain to them why we did it. It wasn't against them or the work. On the contrary, we just want to help them.
And it's really interesting what you said that eventually, and I think it's valid for a lot of companies, that when you want to talk to high management, you really sometimes need to think out of the box and give an explanations or examples, or that will take their attention in a different way than everybody is doing.
We talked about that as an entrepreneur, everything is your in hands.
Yeah.
You're responsible for that. If you won't do whatever is necessary for your innovation to succeed, then it will fail for sure. And this is like the idea and the philosophy that I took from the innovation forward to the rest of my product management career. You have to do whatever is necessary and whatever the means in order for your product, your innovation, your company to succeed.
If you can share even other tools and practices that you took even for life, not only for your professional life, but in general as being an entrepreneur and going through this amazing journey.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, this was the best school that I could wish for product management, entrepreneurship, and it was used the famous framework of Lean Startup. And actually, every product that I built since and today, even in Time to Know, I'm using everything that I learned there, from the Lean Canvas to how to measure the success of your story. I remember when I joined Time to Know and took over the product that I am now responsible for. After 1 month, I was supposed to come to the CEO and give him, my overview and what we're going to do different from this point on. And I told him, listen, I learned in my innovation cycle, innovation process about the pirate metrics. For those who are not familiar with pirate metrics, it's a very customer-oriented framework to track and to understand where is your problem in your product. So you define it into 5 different steps, and then you start measuring each one of the steps. So you create a funnel of your product, and then you're able to improve one step in the funnel at a time. So I came to him, I told him, listen, I want to start measuring the product based on pirate metrics. And he stopped me for a second. He told me, Ori, listen, I have no idea who those pirates that you're talking about, but go ahead, we can do that. So I'm still measuring using pirate metrics every day. And also, one of the things, I gave a lecture once about how you should refer to yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're in software or in any other technology or in manufacturing or in banking, you are your own product manager. And you can use techniques and ways of the Lean Startup when you are defining yourself. What is your unique value proposition based on other insurance agents out there? So you can use all types of frameworks and techniques, and this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm also preaching out.
So I can even say basically what you're saying is it's about how to build your personal brand, but based on the startup kind of models.
Exactly, because you are your own startup. So
for sure, and especially today, there is personal branding is an amazing topic that we can go on and talk about, and it's very important inside an organization. And I think, as you just mentioned, everything that you did also, of course, put you in a different position, and your own brand, which eventually translates to who you are and the value that you give to any company. And we have some corporate innovation managers that are probably listening to us now. So what would be the do's and don'ts that you would recommend them?
So first of all, for every employees, don't be afraid. Don't take the status quo for granted. If something is bothering you, then probably it bothers some other people. So strive for change. And for the corporate innovation managers, make sure that every employee feels comfortable in sending out his ideas. Because if they won't feel comfortable, they won't care. They will go back to their cubicles and they'll do the 9 to 5 or whatever they do. And the company will continue in the current track. That will be it. So you need to create a framework. And again, it doesn't have to be formalized. For example, in Time to Know, we simply have the open door policy that everybody can come. If you have an idea, pitch it, come with data, not feelings, not hunches, not intuition. Come with data, do the validation, and if the management will say, okay, it makes sense, we'll go for it. And this is how it can be done both in large organizations and also in startups. So make sure that they have the framework to pitch new ideas. And on the don'ts, make sure that the management, the mid-management, and the team leaders and the ones that are out there also encourages the people to innovate. Because if, and I heard it sometime that I don't want my employees to waste time on that. And we talked about it in a couple of minutes ago, where if it's important, it is important, make sure that every manager in the organization is willing and is encouraging his employees to make time for innovation.
So if I'll take what you just said, and let's say that one is working in an organization that there is not much support from the management, like you're saying, basically thinking of innovation could be perceived as a waste of time. What would be another way you would suggest for people to harness their management and allow them to try and do something different?
As an Israeli, working in an Israeli company, so it's better to say I'm sorry than ask for permission, okay?
Oh, say it again. It's better to say I'm sorry than ask for permission. I love it.
And this is, kind of can give you the philosophy of how to take no for an answer. And of course, everybody has managers and everybody has like the chain of command, and you have to listen eventually. For example, bring concrete evidence, bring data. If you have an idea and you believe in it and you want to pitch it, I doubt that there will be a manager, and it doesn't matter how senior it is, that would not find half an hour to hear an idea that is based on evidence and data and validation that you did. So rather than, pitch the idea before and ask for the time, take the time on your own, find the data, validate, interview other people that might use this idea, that might use this product, and then come back to your managers with the evidence. Yeah. And then say, okay, I'm sorry I did it, but look, do you want to invest? It has the potential of, I don't know what, but I'm sure that most managers will be convinced once you have this evidence and data.
So you're saying make sure to give them an evidence or a pitch or an offer that they could not say no to, or at least will make them really interested about it.
And try to avoid the question of how did you find it out? Did you invest time in it? No, I just have it. So they won't ask that, but try to avoid in case they ask you that.
Yeah. And, today you're working in a smaller company, Time to Know. It's definitely smaller than HP. So how is it different? So what are the pros and the cons when it comes to innovating, small company versus big company?
Yeah, so in HP, we had, as I mentioned, a very formal process for innovation, where in Time to Know, we actually have two things. We also have our innovation ceremonies. We have kind of between twice a year to 3 times, 4 times, it really depends, hackathons or FedEx days or Shippy days, where the entire companies are split into different groups. Each group has 48 hours to work on an idea. It can be, in most cases, it's related to the strategy, but it doesn't have to be within the current product. And then at the end of the 84 hours, each team pitches their ideas. It has to be working on a POC level or on a concept level, but it has to be something that can be transformed inside the product afterwards. And then management selects the top 2, the top 3, the top idea that goes into the company. We did that last quarter, and now last month we actually introduced the idea that actually helps companies reduce time to market of their digital learning by using AI. This was an idea that was pitched inside this hackathon. So this is one way. This is our innovation ceremonies. But as I mentioned, we have the open door policy. If you have an idea today in Time to Know, I can just go to my VP, I can go to the CEO, I can go to the chief marketing and just talk to them. And again, once we come with data, everybody is willing to listen. And this is kind of the difference between innovating in a big versus a small company. In time to know, I can just go, the CEO sits 2 rows in front of me, and I can just go
closer
and
and more accessible. You know what I think, we didn't say this word, I think, yet, but another big key is the culture. So everything you say about being open to listen to others, allowing this kind of flow of ideas, it's also about the culture, which is a big part of ensuring companies could innovate and could make a difference in this world. So it's definitely important. And another question before we finish is, do you think your innovation journey, as you just told us about some of it, did it bring out the best version of yourself?
definitely.
Yes.
As I said, it made me for the first time leave my comfort zone and made me think, what do I want to do next? What do I want to do when I grow up? And it was the best experience that I could hope for. It opened up the whole new world of product management and entrepreneur for me. And it kind of gave me a full 360 on what building a new product from scratch, from ideation to incubation and so forth and so on. So definitely, and it actually made me also look at myself as a product and where do I want to be. And it kept because of the rapid changes that the cycle had. So it actually made me always keep moving, and this is something that's most important today.
Exactly. I think that's very inspiring, and the best words to finish this interview, to conclude this interview, because eventually, your journey at work does influence who you are. And I think everything that you mentioned that you've learned and gained, it's priceless. And I definitely believe that our listeners here are people who are maybe already doing this or willing or want to start innovating their own companies. And this journey is definitely welcome. So Ori Bendet, thank you so much for being here. I also want to invite you, so if you want to contact him, you can find him on LinkedIn, which is ORI BENDET, Bendet. Twitter, Bendet_Ori, or your email, which is ori.bendet@timetoknow.com. Any final words?
Last final words. It's important to understand that it is a long journey. The data and the numbers say that most products and most startups fail, unfortunately. But each and every one of you need to take from that is the fact that sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. And the important thing is to learn from your failures and to improve for next time. And I'm sure that once you keep doing what you're doing, you will get it right.
Perfect. I love it. So sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, and keep on doing this. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening to us here at Innovation Makes You Sexy. This is brought to you by Duco, Innovation Ecosystem Design, and I am your host, Liron Glickman from The Human Factor. Ori Bendet, it's been a great pleasure, and of course, you're welcome to like it, share this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.